Hi there, you're listening to the Guitar Speak podcast produced in Sydney, Australia. My name's Matt Wakeling and thank you so much for joining me. Now today I speak to Jody Porter, who is the guitarist with Fountains of Wayne and has a fantastic new solo album out, Pacifier. Now I've got to give you a bit of a fanboy backstory on this, if you'll indulge me for a moment. Back in the late 1990s, a friend of mine, James Cole, g'day Jimmy, he gave me a mix CD. Now that was the 90s equivalent of the mixtape. Anyway, this CD was chock full of a band called Fountains of Wayne. And as you do with a mixtape, it sat on my shelf for a few weeks. And then I popped it in. And I've been a fan of that band ever since. Just immaculate power pop, fantastic songwriting through the main songwriters, Adam Schlesinger and Chris Collingwood. And the guitar parts supplied by Jody Porter were incredible. Just beautiful vintage tones, hot rod tones, all sorts of great parts and great sounds. Now, Fountains of Wayne had huge chart success with their 2003 single Stacey's Mum. Got them a Grammy nomination too, but there was a lot of music before and after that track. And as Jody points out, it wasn't all just big, smart, funny power pop. There was a lot of really earnest and beautiful songwriting on some of those albums as well. Tracks like Hack and Sack and I Want You Around. Really beautiful tunes.
And if you ever get back to Hack and Sack, I'll be here for you.
It was a lot of fun to talk about some of those tracks and albums and the recording process behind Fountains of Wayne. And it was also really, really cool to talk about Jody's solo career. He's continues a really deep melodic kind of pocket, but his own stuff has perhaps less obvious kind of lyrics and takes on a little more a psychedelic, trippy kind of vibe at times. Jody's knack for welding together beautiful guitar parts and really orchestrating his guitars continues on his solo album. Here's a little bit of a track, A Beautiful Life from Close to the Sun. Jody Porter, welcome to the Guitar Speak podcast.
Nice to be here.
Cool. Now, you had a gig last night. What were you up to?
I was in DC and I was up until 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh man! So I've got you. That's your Saturday night or your Sunday morning, I should say. So Where are we now? This is Sunday afternoon for you.
By a pool, not too far from where I played last night.
Nice.
And listening to the Velvet Underground with Alexa.
Nice. Very.
Even though there's vinyl stash, which we're too lazy to pull out over here. I'm having a pre-4th of July party to celebrate what's left of our country here.
Okay. That is cool. Hey, I want to talk about a bunch of things, including your new record, Pacifier, which I'm really digging. But if we could go back, when did guitar playing start off for you?
I started on a ukulele at the age of 6 and moved up to a baritone ukulele, which actually had a couple of steel strings on it, if I recall. And then at age 7, I think my pop, who was also a musician back in the 60s, started letting me not lose, but use his 57 Les Paul Jr., which I still have.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, about the age of 7, I started on a 6-string electrical guitar.
That's great. And what kind of stuff were you playing?
Started out on Buddy Holly, and then, discovered everything else in his record collection. I'd get the Beatles on and get the Stones on, and, the English stuff, British invasion stuff, that sort of thing.
Okay, yeah, cool. There's some people will say they're Beatles people and some people will say they're Stones people, but when I listen to your stuff, I kind of gather you're both.
Well, I know some of the Stones, so I don't know if that makes me biased, but yeah, I mean, they're apples and oranges to me completely. You can like both of them. I don't see any division, but it's like Gibsons and Fenders. You got to love both of them.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely. Cool. And did you end up doing like garage bands or putting bands together with friends and things?
Yeah, I had to teach all the classmates that usually were kind of picked on how to play instruments, so they became cool.
Uh-huh.
And we played the high school, or not high school, but whatever it's called, grade school dances and all that stuff, all the way up until high school. And I sort of bailed out on college after 2 years and moved to New York, and that's when I became sort of on record labels and stuff. But it was a lot of fun up until then. I mean, I remember loading in the PA system and stuff, and we felt like badasses because we had a stack of cabinets and stuff. It was a lot of fun back then. And then, you get the lawyers and the managers involved, and stuff just starts to feel like it's work. But it is.
Okay, sure.
Some of the fun goes out of it when you start adding money.
The first band I'm aware of that you were playing in on a label was the Bell Tower. Were there bands before that, or was that your first kind of main band?
I had various kind of schoolmate bands, where some of them couldn't play that well,
Yeah.
bit like Stu Sutcliffe kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
And eventually they got up to a level to where they could. And, as a kid, it was pretty novel, I think, because there weren't any kid bands really, especially in the town I grew up in.
Mm-hmm.
So we would be able to find the rich families that were having a debutante party or something and smuggle $500. And then we just started buying gear with it at an early age. So I've managed to keep that through the years.
Nice. So you had your grandfather's the Les Paul Jr. What other guitars did you have when you were starting out?
65 Mustang, which I also still have. And what else was my father got badgered to the Max and finally got me a Les Paul Deluxe because I was like, I got to graduate from the Junior to the proper Les Paul.
Okay, yeah.
Even though the Junior sounds better actually than the Deluxe. But
Okay.
yeah, that I started building a collection at a really early age back when they were considered used rather than vintage.
Yeah, right. I mean, there was a time where you could just pick up Les Pauls for nothing.
Yeah, this was $175 on my 7th birthday, I think it was.
That's awesome. Now, the Deluxe, that's got the mini humbuckers as opposed to the P90s on the Junior, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's one P90 on the Junior, but it really does sound better than the Deluxe.
Yeah, okay. Cool. So, the Bell Tower, that was a band you were fronting and writing for. Were you always writing songs? When did that start for you?
Yeah, I had started writing. I got all my bad songs out of the way, like George Harrison said. At a relatively early age before I started getting into the studio. So, yeah, London, like circa 90, was when I started to write some relatively decent songs, and in my humble opinion.
Okay, yeah, cool. So you'd had the hard work behind you, and the Bell Tower. I think is that where you met Adam Schlesinger? I never know how to pronounce that.
Schlesinger, yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure if he spells his last name with a $sign like Gene Simmons or not, but anyway, he's a good pal of mine.
Yeah.
We're going to be working together again in the future.
Great.
But yeah, he did join the Bell Tower on the back end of us being in London. So
Okay.
all our recorded work is the Bell Tower. He just joined up sort of as a touring bassist.
Okay.
And then I don't know how long it was. A couple of years later, Fountains of Wayne started to happen, and I jumped in on that one. So
Okay.
he joined my band, then I joined his.
Yeah, cool. That band, obviously you were fronting the Bell Tower, so you kind of moved over to like the main guitar player. Did you enjoy the change, or did you miss the frontman kind of role?
Well, creatively, it was. I could contribute, but I wasn't one of the main songwriters with Fountains as I was with my solo stuff or the
Yeah.
Bell Tower before Fountains.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I liked not having to micromanage a band and make all the decisions because we had, proper management at that time with Fountains.
Yeah.
And so, you just get to the gig and somebody will babysit you when you're on tour, make sure you're awake. And it was a pretty comfortable existence for the last 20 years.
Yeah, cool. You guys had a great run. From the self-titled record in, I think that was around '96, right through to Skyfall of Holes in 2011.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Has it been 2011? It's been a long time, man.
Obviously, Adam seems to have a similar love of '60s pop and rock. To you, that seemed like a good fit.
Yeah, he definitely is influenced by the same stuff I am. He's a little bit more pop,
Hmm.
I like the Stones, and he likes Squeeze.
Okay.
That's about the only difference.
That's a good picture. That sets it up well. Those Fountains of Wayne tunes, they're classic and they're so well crafted. How much room was there for you to add your own parts and write some of those hooks?
Basically, they would bring the songs in and play them to us down on an acoustic guitar, and then we'd go into a pre-pro, like a rehearsal studio, knock them out and figure them out, and then really put them together in the studio.
Okay.
So everybody did contribute to the records.
Yeah, cool. There's some great guitar parts. I mean, so many great parts. Did you There's also parts where you're doubling keyboard. Are you writing those parts as you go?
I'm writing the guitar solos, and then sometimes the keyboards will double that.
Okay, yeah, cool.
Adam and I have this dynamic of working together to where, sometimes I'll get it on the first pass, but it's never planned out or, kind of, sometimes we'll comp a solo into something really brilliant, but a lot of those went down on the first take. It's just like, play something here. And I'd do like 5, takes or something, and we'd pick one or maybe have to comp it because it was too cool not to,
Yeah.
But
Cool.
he pretty much was behind the board as the producer.
Okay.
And when I felt like I had something I liked, I had some influence on which to comp. But yeah, I'm happy to please, It's like take 2 and take 4. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. But I had a lot to do with all that stuff, and it's a lot of the arpeggios and whatnot, just colorings really. But the primary songwriting stuff was done by Adam and Chris, and we just dressed it up in Sunday school clothes.
Uh-huh. Well, you dressed it up well. Great parts. There's so many great parts. The Bright Future in Sales solo. Oh, I love that solo. That felt pretty freewheeling.
Staring at the screen, pretending like I know what all these little flashing lights mean. Oh yeah. I gotta do some quick reading for the big meeting, but my head is spinning.
I think I had the liberty of just going for it on that one. And one that I was talking to with a friend earlier, and I hadn't thought of this song in years. We did use it in an encore environment, but it was always like, what key is it in? Doing a little on stage conference, okay, and that's called Go Hippie.
Okay.
And the song was so kind of, comical to begin with that I was allowed this, Jimmy Page, Jimi Hendrix moment, which was totally not what Fountains of Wayne was about.
Yeah,
It
sure.
was more a constructed thing, but it was on the fly, and that's one take, and then we end up laughing at the end of it. It's just like total flash guitar, and I guess I have the ability to do that, but I asked them, let's not go that deep in there. No, it's perfect. So the laughter at the end was in real time.
Just because you want to, not because you ought to. Oh, how can you ever explain? They can never feel your pain, neither can you.
Cool. That's awesome. Yeah, it feels like you're just cutting loose a little there. That's great. I've read somewhere that Traffic and Weather that came out in 2007. That was mostly recorded by Adam and yourself. Is that true?
Traffic and weather, yeah, that's true.
Hmm.
Um, we were both in New York, and everybody else was somewhere else. Brian is in LA probably, and Chris up in Massachusetts. But by that time, Chris had sort of lost interest in being in the studio and was, focusing on other stuff. And we kind of, finished that one off together.
Uh huh.
It's definitely the most, guitar-y Fountains record.
Yeah, sure. Definitely cool. By Sky Full of Holes. I read something Chris said he wouldn't be in a hurry to go back into the studio after Sky Full of Holes. So perhaps that further illustrates that.
I think Sky Full of Holes is pretty much Chris's album because it's got more of that singer-songwriter kind of melancholic, you know. He likes a lot of stuff that is outside of the box.
Uh huh.
He'd probably he'd kill to be Towns Van Zandt or somebody like that or Sean Colvin. But
Okay.
yeah, I mean the Fountains sound pretty much, described and noted as power pop, but
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit more diverse than being put in that box.
Yeah,
We
for
have
sure.
a lot of different styles that we called from.
Nice. So I assume you're writing your own stuff at the same time. Like I guess towards the around that period, towards those last couple of records, you start writing and producing your own stuff again. Close to the Sun's a great record. I love that.
Thanks.
I guess I'd describe it as more of a trippier, looser kind of vibe to the Fountain stuff.
Yeah, I think that the first, yeah, I would. I think the first album I did was, kind of coming out of my bell tower existence and
Hmm.
back into, making records on my own again.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, there's a little bit more psychedelic stuff than your straight up big choruses and,
Yeah.
quirky verses and whatnot.
Yeah.
It's
Cool.
still kind of a pop record, but it's got a lot going on.
Yeah, it's something like Starscraper. It starts off and you've got these big pads of. It's almost like soundscape or audio design going underneath this big pop tune.
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, backwards guitars and a lot of delay and reverb stuff. Just trying to get it to get psyche, and we put a little fairy dust on it. It's a production piece.
Yeah, cool. So we've got your new record out, Pacifier, which came out earlier this year. Congratulations, it's a great record.
Thank you.
And it continues that, I guess there's all that kind of Britpop and British influence, British rock. The first track in the beginning, you've got the sitar and the organs going on. That's quite a cool trip.
Yeah, I like that one actually. That was one of the last songs I wrote because I needed a way to open the record.
Okay.
And I wanted it to sort of read like a book. So you got in the beginning, ... and then the last song on the album is called The Last Chapter.
Mm-hmm.
So I had recorded like 14 songs for it initially, and I had to boot a couple of them off because it didn't read the way I wanted it to be read.
Okay, yeah.
So it's 11 songs, and yeah, it came out in March, I think.
The sitar, is that like a Jerry Jones kind of guitar?
Yeah,
string
it
thing,
is
yeah?
actually. It's a reissue of the choral.
Ah, yeah, cool.
And it sounds pretty cool. It's a little bit of a novelty thing, but it works in there.
Yeah, it's great. It appears on a whole bunch of tracks on your record too, which I liked. It gave it a bit of I don't know, maybe a unifying kind of tone. The thing I like about it, when the track's kind of empty-ish, like in the beginning, it's got lots of room. You hear all the sympathetic kind of overtones, but there's some other tracks where you use it in a really dense track, and you more hear just the attack of the front of the note without all the extra resonance, and that kind of works cool too.
It's funny that you mentioned that, actually.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I have this Star Trek Enterprise, pedal board, which I use live, but, the last two solo records I've done have pretty much just been kind of unadulterated with effects. I think a lot of that stuff that you're hearing is really in the fingers.
Yeah.
And not a pedal,
Sure.
We didn't have a whole lot of pedals to work with, so blasted it through a Marshall, and that was kind of the rhythm guitar sound anyway.
Okay, yep. Yeah, there's some cool, I love the, I don't know, something like Pick Your Poison, that kind of slightly crunchy Marshall. It's not totally wound up, but it's just sounds really big. What guitars are you using on the album? What were the main ones?
The main guitars were not, out of my vintage arsenal. They were kind of just what were around.
Mm-hmm.
Believe it or not, there's a Squire Telly that plays a big role in that last record, but we had all these old amps and, kind of started to just not get too analytical about the guitar sounds until we started mixing it. But yeah, a couple of real Tellys and a Squire Telly, which ended up sounding actually really good for it. And I think I had a couple of my vintage Gretches on there.
Okay.
Whatever I had that was at the studio.
Cool.
And whatever else he had, it was recorded in Virginia down here. And we supplemented mostly in the amp department, and the guitars kind of just what was laying around.
Okay. Cool. So do you record pretty fast? You just putting parts down and moving on?
Well, the album that you were talking about, Close to the Sun, took a good amount of time just because we weren't working in Fountains on tour or anything.
Yeah.
That was recorded right around the time of Welcome Interstate in New York. So we spread that out for a while.
Yeah.
Pacifier, the new one, is kind of done, sporadically over the course. If the studio was blocked out, it would have been like some total of 2 weeks or something like that.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, we worked on that for about two months.
Yeah. Cool. Tracks like Vanishing Act and She's Changing Everything. There's a lot of guitars on those tracks. It's great. But you seem to be a bit of a master of stacking a lot of parts, but without it turning into mush. You seem to. There's still a lot of clarity between the guitars. Is there any secret to that?
Probably having a really good engineer. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know Pro Tools. I've always had an engineer at the end of a cell phone call.
Yeah.
So, it's up to them really to kind of figure out where to pan it and all that stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I'm involved heavily in the mixing process.
Sure. Yeah, it's cool. Those tracks, there's like these big walls of guitar, but there's a lot of clarity at the same time, which is very cool. Something like I think the start of She's Changing Everything. There's a real boxy kind of guitar sound in the intro, and this is something I hear on some of the Fountains of Wayne records as well. So you got this really sort of narrow EQ on a guitar. Do you kind of dial in those tones at the amp and then add the guitars around it, or are you doing that in the mix?
It's not so much the mix. I mean, what you're hearing is pretty much the take, And then at some point, maybe we'll reroute it back through a pedal or two. But yeah, there's a lot of really clean guitars on the new record.
What about the acoustics on the album? What guitars do you use there? Something like TikTok, you've got like a stereo pair of acoustics, which sounds really sweet. What guitar is that?
That's probably my J200, I would think.
Okay.
I don't have a whole lot. I do have a few, but I don't have 30 acoustics. I've never really dug acoustics too much as a collector.
Sure.
But I got a few nice ones. I got an old J160E, and I think that was on the scene for that session. So that could have been either mic'd up. We tried a lot of different things, not really like with a particular sound in mind, but it's just like, let's plug it into an amp and see what it does. Maybe it'll feedback real cool or something.
Yeah, cool.
But yeah, a lot of those were just, either Gibson J200, I think, was pretty much primary on Pacifier.
I really like that track, Waking Up Is Hard to Do. That's very punky. Were you into 70s New York punk? Did that factor in your listening?
I would think so to some degree, yeah. I just, I needed to write something kind of happy and up-tempo and short and sweet, so that, for some reason, showed its ugly head. But yeah, I do like the, CBGB's era stuff out of New York television and the Voidoids. I got to know Richard Lloyd pretty well. And there's a little Richard Lloyd influence on some of that stuff.
You've been doing a bunch of gigs lately. You said you had one last night. You doing some work with Evan Dando? Is that true?
I actually went to Holiday with him and Anita Pallenberg at Pete's Place in Jamaica. And we've always kind of been friends, going back as far as Britain.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, we were strumming some acoustics on the porch and kind of just having fun, really. But at some point, we may do something. We've been talking about it.
Yeah.
I know he's big in Australia, and that's pretty cool. I think he just came from Australia, did he not?
He did, yeah. He was here last month, yep.
Yeah, did you catch the show or anything?
I didn't. I've seen him before, though. He's great.
He's amazing, man. You know, he can actually get up there with an electric guitar, mostly, and he's borrowed mine on many occasions when he's opened for us. But he'll show up on tour without a guitar and just be able to take it because the songwriting is so strong, you know?
That's cool.
Yeah, I don't. I've always needed a wingman, you know, but he can do it all by himself. But yeah, it'd be nice to do something. There's something in the works going on, I think.
Yeah, cool. That would be great. Great. And what about your solo stuff then? So for Pacifier, is there any intention to pull a band together and gig with those songs?
Yeah. We just played in Brooklyn for the
cool.
Northside Fest, and it's a 4-piece band. I got a guy called Pete Hogan playing guitar,
Mm-hmm.
and a girl called Joan Chu. They're both excellent musicians who have worked with me live, at least not so much in the studio, but for the last 3 years. So we have a chemistry. And my friend Cobb Irvin, who can play any instrument, is the drummer in this project now. So we got a great dynamic, and we're going to be doing more gigs throughout the summer.
Yeah, cool. That's great. Great. I would love to catch you guys live. I reckon that would be fantastic.
Hopefully you get a chance to come abroad, as they say.
Yeah.
I think there's some plans maybe in the works to, hit New York a few more times.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not in New York anymore. I couldn't really deal with the winters, so
Okay.
I do LA occasionally. And I think before we really get moving with touring, we're gonna just do a bunch of stuff on the East Coast here in the States.
Okay, that sounds good. So what's the best way, Jody, for people to keep up with what you're up to with your gigs and albums and whatever?
Probably through my band page on Facebook, because I haven't updated or had anyone update, I should say, my website for quite some time.
Sure.
But if you want to, preview the album, it's all digital stuff right now.
Yeah.
Thinking about doing some vinyl. But
Yeah, cool.
to me, it's still kind of a new release. So, just kind of, working it up a little bit live. And, you can get it through Amazon and all that stuff. If you don't like it, don't buy it, as they say.
That's fair enough. Yeah, cool. But it's a great record. I totally loved it, and I feel like every listen there's some new stuff to dig out. There's a lot going on which I really like. So I'll keep playing it at my place for sure. Hey, Jody, thank you so much for your time today. It was really cool to meet you and talk about guitars and your amazing career. And I hope to hear some more stuff from you soon.
Indeed, mate. Thanks for calling.
Okay, thank you, Jody.
Later, man.
All right, there's my conversation with Jody Porter. Great guitar player, great songwriter, and the new album is awesome. Here's a track, She's Changing Everything, to take us out. My name's Matt Wakeling. You've been listening to the Guitar Speak podcast.
It's been a month of Mondays, calling me obsessed. Was heading out from the left coast, winter washing west. It had enough of the city, last forever.